What's up, movie people? So I am new to this. This is my first YouTube video. I'm really excited. I love movies. I'm passionate about them. I love talking about them. I pretty much love all genres. First off, I know you hear this everywhere on YouTube, but if you could like and subscribe and comment, I'd be so appreciated, especially because I'm trying to get my feet on the ground. And those things really help the algorithm just put you into people's feed where they will see your video. So, sorry if the video quality and sound quality isn't up to par, but I'm hoping to get there eventually. So, I want to review first Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. So this movie has been really divisive. A lot of people have hated it. A lot of people have loved it. I think critics score is like 48% and audience is 84. They're actually exact opposites. I didn't even realize that. I definitely lean more with the audience on this one. I see a lot of the gripes people had with the movie, especially in the third act. But overall, I feel like it gave us that classic MCU feel that a lot of people have been missing. I feel like a lot of people during Phase 4 felt like it was too jokey or felt just not like it was. And I feel like Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania really brought that feel back. So just to dive right into the movie. So the movie opens up with Kang and Janet. Janet hears something, she goes out, she starts shooting these creatures, and then Kang pops up and he says that he's stranded. Well, he says, "What is this place?" He doesn't know where he is. But he's in the quantum realm, obviously, with Janet. If you've seen the past Ant-Man movies, you know that Janet was in the quantum realm for a long time. And I feel like this is a good classic setup and payoff later in the movie. We'll find out more about their background because we didn't really know much about what Janet experienced in the quantum realm, which I think was really cool to get that in this movie. So with that, it leads into, we just are talking to Scott Lang's family, and I really like this dynamic because we already know these characters, we love them, but there's more of a focus on Cassie this time, Ant-Man's daughter, because we haven't explored that much with her. She grew up during the Infinity War Endgame time, during the blip, and so we need to know more about her. And we see at the beginning of this movie that she's kind of has some similarities to Scott, but that they're butting heads with each other over it, which is kind of funny and ironic. And then later on in the movie, we see that it actually connects them because they are similar to each other. So there's a lot of these elements and themes in this movie that I really like, and it feels fun, you know. And so another thing I like is they get right into the quantum realm, so they kind of just get straight to the point, and they're adventuring there. And something I love about when they get there is that it feels like a lived-in world. That was a critique a lot of critics had, and other YouTubers that I've watched, that the world didn't feel lived in. They felt like they were just watching the quantum realm and they weren't in it. But I actually didn't feel that way. I felt that way a little bit right at the first, but then as the movie went on, I felt like it was really lived in. Like Kang had been there for a long time. He'd been conquering, and the people there, they were just living their lives. It felt very Star Wars. Like this was their planet. This was their section of the galaxy. But it's just in the quantum realm in the MCU. And I really loved that. I think there's a power to having a world feel lived in that it helps you understand what it might have been like to live there. And so anyways, they're stranded, they're separated, part of the family. Hank, Hope, and Janet are together, and then Cassie and Scott are together, and they're trying to find their way back to each other. So they're adventuring, they're going, and then they eventually meet Kang. Scott and Cassie meet Kang, and he tells them that he needs them to do this or he'll kill Cassie, basically. And so Scott's like, okay, I'll do this for you. I'll shrink down the core to his ship so that he can use it again. And a lot of this feels like classic things in movies. Maybe that's another thing people had, like tropes, another thing people had a problem with. But I felt like that's what made it feel like just a good fun superhero movie like we'd been missing. Like Thor: Love and Thunder, not a huge fan. Black Panther, I liked it, but more for emotional side, not so much for the plot. And then Doctor Strange 2, it felt like it had too much Sam Raimi in it and not enough just MCU Doctor Strange. What we look for in this universe, it just felt too director style, and so did Thor: Love and Thunder. I think that's why those two movies weren't as loved by everyone. But that's why I did like Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, is because it did feel like that thing we'd been missing. To move on, they shrink down the thing. They end up meeting back with the family, and then we're in the third act. And this is where I have some gripes. The more I've thought about it, the more I feel like Kang felt like he had a really ominous presence throughout the whole movie. And then in the third act, it just kind of, he was just beat really easy. I mean, this huge army of ants come in, they attack him. All he did was go outside, laser some people, and then the ants come and grab him. And then Scott eventually beats him later, which that was a really good fight later, and it felt like he was menacing and really powerful in that moment. But before that, it just kind of felt like, wow, you would think he would have more power and more to do in this moment. And he'd have more of a presence, if that makes sense. It kind of just felt like he was just there to have some cool powers for a second, and then he'd get beat. And I was like, well, I don't know. If he's as powerful as he says he is, I feel like he could have been manipulating time like he says he can, which we didn't get to see much in this movie, and just like he could have flown above the ants. I know some of the ants can fly too, but it just felt a little too easy. Another thing a lot of people are want to hear about is Modok. So Modok, he's the big floating head. I knew he's in the comics. I didn't really know his role. I know he's more silly in this movie than he is in the comics, but I actually really liked him. I thought he was funny. A lot of people thought it was lame that he turned back to good in such a simple way, that Cassie just told him not to be a dick, and he was like, okay, I won't be a dick anymore, which like makes sense, but it makes sense why people would have a gripe with it. But if you look at his character throughout the movie, I was wondering why he was on Kang's side, because I was like, I don't know, I don't feel like he's got this evil in him. I know he's in the other movies and he's the enemy in the other movies, but it just feels like in this movie that he doesn't actually want to be with Kang. It's just like his only place because he was saved by him. And so it feels like once he's given the opportunity and the thought that he can change, then he does, and it makes sense. I know it's done in a silly, goofy way, but I don't know, it worked for me. Anyways, overall, this movie I really liked. I thought it was fun. I thought it built on the characters. I thought everyone had their moment, had their chance, had their time to shine. But I really liked the relationship between Scott and Cassie, and then Kang felt like a good villain to set up for the rest of Phase 5 and 6. And I mean, that's their goal, right? And so I like this movie a lot. I'm going to plug it in and give it a 75%. Yesterday I said 85 when I saw it, but more thinking about it, that third act did feel a little rushed and kind of kooky. And so if they could have expanded that, fleshed it out a little bit more, made Kang feel like more of a presence once he's actually in the heat of the moment, I think it would have been higher. And for a lot of people probably, but overall, great movie. And yeah, I hope you keep watching, and thanks for coming. I really appreciate it. Bye.